Yeah, it really is. I'd like to go on to this question. How do you differentiate between suicidal ideation and suicidal intent? And if you could define suicidal ideation for people who aren't familiar with that term.
I believe that there's a kind of a spectrum of talking about that. So that I think many of us perhaps have experienced the thought of, I wish I were dead.
Yeah.
Or I wish I never were born. Then there can be the thought of almost, it can go into almost a fantasizing about that, right? A daydream about it. There can be thoughts then of, it's going from the wish maybe to the like. I'd like to be dead, right? And then the I like to be dead is again associated with because why, right? Because I wouldn't be in that pain, because I wouldn't have to deal with this problem, right? There could also be potentially, it'll serve that person right. They drove me to suicide,
Oh my, I was just thinking about that. I know that's terrible, but if you're just somebody hurt you so badly and there's just a flash in your mind of like, oh, if I did this and they would feel guilty forever. But I've had that before, then that's just a flash.
Yeah, then they'll know how much they hurt me. Right. Of course, the thinking is all distorted. Like, well, that's not the best solution. Nope. 2, they may or may not react that way. 3, you're going to be dead. You will not even know what happened.
Exactly.
So don't think that way. Find another solution. Then going on into like I'd like to, then it can be progressing into, well, how would I do it? And when will I do it? Right? So again, it's starting to become more real and solidified.
Is that still ideation, or does that go into intent?
Yeah, so that's still the ideation. Because the ideation is meaning thinking, right?
Okay.
So you're still in a thinking process, but your thinking process is heading more into an intention. So maybe a trajectory is, I wish I were, I'd like to. Then you're getting into how would. So now you're getting into a planning phase. And I want to. I want to end my life, and this is how and when I'm going to do it. Right? Okay. And then, unfortunately, there can be a planned next step, meaning taking action, which is the behavior. And there could also be an impulsive. So it's not so much a premeditation, but suddenly the person is going to the medicine cabinet or going to the drawer in the kitchen to pick up a knife. There can be, or seeking out the weapon. So there can be premeditation. Also, there can be, in the context of this, a person can start giving away things, right? That they're planning their death, and they're starting to give away belongings. They may not want their loved ones to suffer, but of course their loved ones are going to suffer.
Of course.
Right? But giving away things, organizing one's finances, right? So it's, quote, not going to be difficult for the loved ones, right? Again, no amount of planning is going to take away their pain. Right. So that can be part of a planning phase, as well.
Okay.
There can be perhaps phone calls, or text messages of apologies to other people, or inexplicable reaching out to people to say hello and to say goodbye, but not necessarily saying goodbye, I'm going to kill myself, but reaching out to make contact and then to say goodbye. And then then there can be, as we just talked about, the actual suicidal, behavior,
Okay.
which could be planned potentially on a certain day, right? We talk about anniversary days. There could be a certain day, to do this, or it could be just this is the day that I'm going to do it. And then there's the aftermath, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's so
And
sad.
there can be an attempt, and I have an experience of this with a patient where a person may be in the act of killing themselves. They think better of it and they reach out for help. So I had an experience very, very many years ago of a woman who had a past and current substance abuse problem, also depression. She was a substance abuse counselor, which is not a paradox. Many people from their lived experience, learn and grow, and they reach out to help people in a similar difficulty. And sometimes a person might relapse in there. And I remember this woman who was my patient reaching out to me by telephone and describing how depressed she was. And something in the way she was talking to me made me ask the question, have you done something right now to kill yourself? And the answer was yes. She had taken an overdose of medication.
Oh my God.
And thank God she told me that. And I called 911 and they came to her home and they saved her life.